The West Coast Eagles defined bad on the weekend. Many of us would give them a mulligan, but not Adam Simpson.
You can question our effort, you can, which is, that's really disappointing. So I think there's stages in games and from experience where you get a bit of a glazed look over your face, you don't really know what to do, and that's my job. It's our coach's job to try and realign it and reset it, and we couldn't find a way to get our guys mentally back in the game, but physically, we looked weak.
Strong stuff from Adam Simpson. Bore all the responsibilities himself, but he labelled his players a weak group for that particular day. They're in lockdown right now, out at 12 o'clock tonight. What's tomorrow?
They might want to stay.
They will.
They're in purgatory.
Mate, I think they're on the phone to Premier Mark McGowan to try and get that extended, no doubt about it. But tell you what, I tried to temper my commentary in the second half because it was white flag stuff. But don't worry, Adam Simpson's done the work for us. He's just gone bang, bang, bang. Very rarely you hear a coach speak so strongly like that. He did call his side. He said we looked weak and they were embarrassed. So look at the numbers. So, the pressure difference, that's the worst since 2017 in the game. It was just horrible. The worst thing about it was the first quarter they looked really good. For the first 25 minutes of the first quarter, I thought, geez, West Coast are up and ready to go. They were plus 10 in contested footy. After quarter time, minus 35 contested possessions and minus 20 of those were in ground ball. And a lot of that was in the back half. Now, I tried to look through the game and remember, where do I put a finger on where it all started? Late in the first quarter, when one of your senior leaders does this, Nick Natanui in the ruck, Reece Stanley in his 150th game, kudos to him, he played really well.
He was great.
This is when they were going well, West Coast Eagles. Now, Reece Stanley, Geelong wins the free kick clearly. Nick Nat has a look at him, and then he goes, you know what, I think I've gone far enough. That's lazy. That's lazy from a leader. Because look who ends up with the football. Now, I don't know what Nick Nat's doing. Is his role there to be guarding the centre square?
Well, I think everyone that was watching wrote this down. And that is the moment where you looked at it and going, this is getting too hard for him. And it got too hard for Nick. The push, he started, you're spot on. He started to do the hard thing. Put your head down and push hard defensively, and it all got too
hard. You're spot on. And guess what? 2 or 3 minutes later, Andrew Gaff, another leader. Look what happens. So this is just a tackle. It has to be made 100 times out of 100. Needs to be crunched. Like Yennis, it just rolls around like a wet paper bag, straight out of there, and then goes forward. Now, let's have a look at some of this work now from the Eagles players to get out of the contest. So, yes, Geelong, they're hunting in. This is about 3 or 4 minutes later. So this all happened in a period of 10 minutes. Sloppy by Dom Sheed, who had a shocking game.
Interesting you
Look
mentioned
at this contest.
Natanui and Gaff. Two of the boys that did miss out.
Do you reckon Rui they'd be happy with that? 4v1? Then it just goes forward.
They wouldn't be happy with much, Brownie, after quarter time, as you mentioned. Do you? I mean, this is a smashing. This is an absolute smashing. Do you put a line through a team that's capable of this, or do you read more into the fact that they had a lot of their leadership out? I mean, because these losses in isolation, they don't mean you can't win the flag, but they erode a bit of trust, these sort of losses.
They look disorganised here, though, don't they?
They turned it up, Jared. By that stage, they just turned it up.
Well, here's the list of outs at the moment, and they're big names. I mean, Petrocelli probably aside, they are in the top half dozen or 8 or 9 players in their side. There's a question mark on Yo just where he's at for the year.
So Nick's question needs answering. I mean, we suspect they're not as bad as that, right? Never as bad, never as good, all that stuff. But are they capable of winning a premiership when you can turn it up like that?
Absolutely not. And you know why? I've got a big question mark. There's a huge leadership void at the West Coast Eagles. 2 players that weren't out there, Luke Shuey, their captain, and their former captain, Shannon Hearn. When those guys aren't out there, there is a huge gap in leadership.
McGovern went off the ground.
McGovern went off the ground, but I don't see him as that demonstrative leader. Their back half work was horrible. Brad Shepherd had one of the worst games I've ever seen him play. Had 5 or 6 kicked on him, probably in the first half. They had no direction back there. So that is a real concern. So no, Jared, they cannot win the premiership with that lack of leadership out there, especially if Hearn and Shuey aren't there. So that's a real concern.
If they get the full complement of players back, are you writing them off, given that there's lack of leadership in the depth?
No, I'm not writing them off, but they'd want to get back there and get back quickly. I'm not calling them flat track bullies. because they had a great game against the Western Bulldogs, just went down to Marvel Stadium, could have beaten St Kilda until Hearn got injured in that game. So they've shown they can travel. Geelong can do that down at Geelong, but their leadership, they need to stand up outside of Hearn and Shuey.
Well, right now they get a really good sample or a good test in hopefully a final-like atmosphere if McGowan opens up the doors.